Life on the buses wasn't just a job, it was a world unto itself. For Liz and her son David, it was a shared experience, though their paths were far from identical. Both had their unforgettable moments, the kind that stay with you long after you've hung up your uniform. David was fresh to the job, once a conductor, now a new driver with the nerves to match. We found ourselves paired up on a quiet late shift on the number 10 to Knightswood. It was one of those nights where time dragged on until it didn't. The light turned green. It took a second or two before I said, "David, lights are green." "Oh," he said, startled out of his daydream. He turned the wheel and started moving. What happened next unfolded in a blur. With a look of horror, David began accelerating and hauling on his steering wheel. The red post office van came straight towards us from Annisland Road. I could see the van driver mirroring David's reaction, hauling on his wheel, his face full of fear as he tried to avoid the head-on collision. We were crossing his path in what is always the most dangerous maneuver on British roads, right-hand turns across oncoming traffic's path. It was early on a summer evening, still bright outside as it often is in Scotland until long after 9 p.m. Both David and the van driver reacted in the same instant, swerving sharply to avoid disaster. There was no time for blaring horns or flashing lights, just hauling those steering wheels to clear each other. Somehow they missed each other by inches. Both vehicles pulled over, shaken but intact. The post office driver stormed up to the bus, his anger palpable but remarkably restrained. Post office driver: "That's a busload of people, not rubbish you're carrying." The driver stormed off. David's apologies were endless. I stood at the front of the bus, realizing where the van would have struck. The flimsy fiberglass front of the bus wouldn't have stood a chance. Obliterated, that's the word that came to mind. Not long after, David confided that he planned to leave the buses and study industrial electronics. It was a passing comment, but it stuck with me. A few years later, I found myself doing the same, trading buses for a 20-year career in white goods engineering. Funny how a single moment can change the course of your life. If David's tale was one of reflection, Liz's was pure comedy, at least at the time. She had years of experience as a conductress and had recently passed her PSV driving test, was assigned to a bus replacement service between Annisland and Dumbarton Central, covering a route along the Great Western Road. Liz, feeling out of her depth, seeks advice from an inspector. "Inspector, just follow that coach." The inspector points to a single-decker ahead. Liz follows the coach under a low railway bridge at Dumbarton Central Station. The roof of the bus meets the bridge with a crunch that echoes down the street. It rips clean off, landing on the road behind. Miraculously, no one was hurt. The passengers upstairs had either come downstairs or were on the stairs at the time. Liz, ever the professional, stood by as the now convertible bus was driven back to the garage by one of the black squad mechanics. I stood in amazement as the vehicle rolled into the depot designated LA 917, looking like an accidental open-top tour bus. The depot was in stitches. Liz, mortified, became the subject of endless teasing. It was all in good fun back then, just another humorous tale for the archives. The handrails looked as though a giant had bent them backward. After repairs, LA 917 returned to service, and when it was finally retired, the last I heard, it had found new life as a mobile play centre and nursery. But years later, when a school bus in Glasgow struck a low bridge with tragic results, Liz's story took on a darker significance. What had been a source of laughter became a sobering reminder of what could have happened. Liz and David were more than colleagues. They were a mother and son navigating life on the buses together. Their stories, though different in tone, painted a vivid picture of the unpredictability of the job. For me, they weren't just tales. They were part of a shared history that shaped not only their lives, but mine as well.